Hey guys, Priscilla back here with Holistic Healing Homestead. Got my farm shirt on. Alright, so I found some biochar on the property and I'm going to harvest some and get it inoculated. So the previous owners, they did a lot of burning of wood here, and it leaves you with charcoal, biochar, right? And this is excellent fertilizer for the garden once it's actually inoculated. So we're gonna harvest some of this in 2 buckets or so. See, like stuff like that, gorgeous, right? Going to take 2 buckets, halfway full, or a quarter of the way full, and then we're going to inoculate it with chicken poop compost tea and worm casting compost tea. And then I'm going to use that to create soil or fortify the soil, that's sandy soil that's on the property. All right, stay tuned. So I've got both buckets about halfway filled, and now I'm going to take it back into the backyard and I am going to inoculate it with chicken poop compost, and then we're going to grab some worm casting and turn that into a bit of a tea and let this soak for several days, so all of this porous material can go ahead and get absorbed with all those nutrients. Because what you don't want to do is put this in the ground just like this, because then it's going to leach all the nutrients that you put in for a while before it becomes helpful. So it's better to inoculate it before putting it and immersing it with your soil. So here is the lovely chicken poo water. Now, chicken fertilizer has very, very, very high nitrogen, right? So we're going to take a good bit of this, and I'm stirring it because a lot of this stuff settled to the bottom. Now, this is chicken poop that was taken straight from the chicken coop, and it's been sitting in water for over a month, and it still smells really, 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 really bad. So it's going to take scoopfuls of this, and I don't mind getting my hands dirty because I'm about to go shower afterwards anyway. You just take this and let that saturate that. I'm going to let this cover it, and I'm going to give it a stir. And then I'm going to repeat it with the other one. And then I'm going to get some of the worm casting from that green worm bin. Do the same thing and top it off with water. And you see how that's bubbling up? You want that to sit for a little bit so all of that charcoal, that biochar, can absorb all the nutrients from the compost, the chicken compost tea. That black slurry goodness. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Only gardeners get excited about this nastiness. So we're going to do the same thing for the second one. And even though that sat for over a month, it is still highly concentrated. I'm going to mix it. So this is how this first one is starting to settle a little bit. And you're going to mix this Stir that up so you get all the dry bits off the bottom. And let that absorb all of it. And just let that sit for a second. Make sure I get all the dry bits off the bottom in this one as well. Alright, so I'm going to go get another bucket so that I can do what I need to do for the worm castings. The key is going to be to find a bucket that don't have holes on the bottom. See if I can find some success in doing that. Oh, jackpot, no holes. Okay, I'm gonna use this one. So I'm going to take the tray out, loosen up the sides. Then I'm going to, where are you? Here you go. Simply take this and just scrape a little bit out of the bottom until I get a decent amount. So again, with this, a little bit goes a long way. And yes, there's going to be particles in my worm castings that haven't broke down. Like eggshells takes a while to break down. And obviously chicken bones don't break down very well with worms, but it works in the whole scheme of composting. So about this much, which should give me enough to really just coat the bottom of this. Take that. And I'm doing this one-handed. Bear with me. Judge the mess. And then I'm going to put this back. So just a little bit. And then I'm going to fill that up with water. And I have well water, so I don't have to worry about using municipality water and letting that sit for 24 hours. So this much, and then I'm going to fill it up with water. And then I'm going to let it sit for a few hours before I top it onto the other one. So just fill that up with water, swish it around. Get that to release some of the components from the worm castings. And I'm just going to take that and top it off half and half in the container with BioChar and let it sit. Alright, so after some time's passed, we're going to take about half of that, put in there, half of that, a little bit more than half of that in that one, since the other one had a little bit more water. And then just let that sit. So I'm going to give it a stir, mix it all in, and then I'm going to let it sit for a few days in the greenhouse. Since actually I might let it sit out because we're going to get a little bit of rain. It's not going to be too much rain, but let it sit out for a little bit, catch a little bit of rainwater, then let it sit for about a week in the greenhouse and let all that biochar absorb all this lovely goodness. Yes, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. See? Now that is going to get so soaked and saturated that you should be able to eventually just break it apart. And it's already happening. But it'll fill up all those nooks and crannies with nutritious goodness. And this would be a component that can, for a lifetime, feed and fertilize your soil naturally, organically, without any of those chemicals. This is how you feed your soil, people.